CreepyCorner stories.
Hey folks, before we dive into tonight's stories, I want to give a huge thank you to Kieran Tibbetts, Lisa Collin, Carter, and Dark Impulse 85 for supporting the channel and being amazing members. So if you enjoy what you hear tonight, you're in the right place. Now, grab your headphones, turn off the lights, and let's step into another amazing night. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. What kind of story hits you the hardest? The ones that feel too real, or the ones that could actually happen to someone you know? I found a dark web map of hidden floors in famous buildings. Last night, my elevator took me to one that shouldn't exist. Alright, so I'm not really sure where to begin with this. I guess I'll just lay it out like one of those late night YouTube story times. The ones you throw on when you're too creeped out to sleep, but too curious to stop watching. You know what I mean? I've always loved horror, like the animated ones on YouTube. Here's my story, or those weird Reddit videos with the AI voice narrating stories that start off chill and then just dive straight into the uncanny. But what happened to me last week? This is different. This isn't a story I watched. This is mine. And it's real. I wish it wasn't. So here's some context. I'm 23. Just a regular dude. Live in a small apartment in Brooklyn. Not a fancy one. Not a roach motel either. But in that sweet spot where the neighbors are always yelling at each other and there's a 24/7 McDonald's 3 blocks down that you're kinda afraid to go into after midnight. I do freelance tech stuff, mostly I work, and the occasional back-end gig. Keeps me fed, lets me buy my overpriced iced coffee at Starbucks and scroll Twitter while pretending I'm working. And yeah, I browse weird parts of the internet. Not like illegal weird, but I've poked around some forums that most people would close out of real quick if they stumbled on by accident. Places where you don't use your real name, where people don't talk, they just drop coordinates, strange screenshots, and file names that look like someone smashed their head against the keyboard. There's no upvotes or karma, just encrypted threads that disappear after a few hours. A few nights ago, I was scrolling this forum called Shadow Sketch. It's kind of like a dark web Reddit, but no usernames, no posts older than 24 hours, and if you try to save anything, it just doesn't let you. It's like the site knows. Anyway, someone posted this thread titled Map Redacted Existence, and underneath it was a single image link. No comments, just views. Like hundreds of people had clicked, but no one said anything. Against my better judgment, and I mean seriously against my better judgment, I clicked it. It took me to this hyper-compressed .rar file, password protected. Password was just map hidden inside. A PDF. Looked old, like a scanned document. It was titled, Levels Below, Hidden Access Points to Floors That Don't Exist. The file had a list, not of places, not directly, but of coordinates, landmarks, and something called unnumbered access sequences. Stuff like 40.7580 degrees north, 73 degrees, 98.55 degrees west, Times Square, service shaft behind billboard 3C, 34.052, 2 degrees north, 118.2, 437 degrees west, Los Angeles, basement level, Starbucks beneath Wilshire Tower, 48.85, 84 degrees north, 2.2945 degrees east, Eiffel Tower, Elevator override. Key required for B6. It read like a hit list. There were maybe 40 locations all over the world, but the last one, that one gave me chills. 40.7505 degrees north, 73.9934 degrees west, Madison Square Garden, staff elevator, E7, code 3377, after 2:03 a.m. That's, like, right by me. 10-minute subway ride. I've been there dozens of times. MSG, Rangers games, concerts, random overpriced Pepsi and soggy fries. But I'd never heard of any E7 elevator. I thought it was a hoax. Someone's ARG, or some kind of creative drop, maybe for a horror project. But it wouldn't leave my head. I stared at that entry for like an hour. I googled everything, tried searching MSG elevator E7. Nothing. Looked at maps, blueprints, old Reddit threads. Zilch. But then, stupidly, I checked the calendar. It was the 5th. December 5th. A Thursday. And I had nothing else to do. So, I went. I took the 1 train. Got there around 1:30 a.m. Place was mostly shut down, but not entirely. There's always some late-night janitors, security guys wandering, or people moving gear for morning events. You'd be surprised how active that place is when it's closed. I wore a black hoodie, mask, and tried to look like I belonged. Held my phone up like I was taking notes or checking an event schedule. Nobody stopped me. Most people don't question someone who walks like they know where they're going. I wandered through side corridors, dodged some guards, found an old stairwell behind a caution staff-only door that hadn't been locked properly. And there it was, an unmarked elevator, the panel yellowed and dusty, with a barely visible sticker that read E7. I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. This had to be a prank, right? But I pressed the button. It lit up red. The door opened after about 10 seconds. Inside, it looked clean. Almost too clean. Sterile. Like it hadn't been touched in years, but not dusty at all. Just still. I stepped inside. There were no buttons, no floor numbers, just a single keypad, like a number pad on a microwave. I typed 3377. It didn't ding or say anything, but the door shut. And then, and I swear to God this is true, the elevator started going down. I watched the display on my phone's altimeter app. The numbers dropped slowly, like 1 floor, 2, 3, and then the lights cut out. I stood in total darkness for about 5 seconds. Then a deep red emergency light kicked on. Not the normal kind. This one pulsed. Faint. Almost organic. And the elevator stopped. The doors opened. But it wasn't a basement. It was something else. A hallway that looked like it was built in the 1950s, with flickering fluorescence and old steel beams, like the interior of an abandoned missile silo. Concrete walls with streaks of rust, and on the far wall, spray painted in red. No fans beyond this point. I swear, it smelled like gasoline and wet carpet. I don't even know why, but I took 1 step forward. Just one. And right then, something down the hall clicked. A heavy sound, like a vault ceiling. Then I heard it. Footsteps. But they didn't sound like shoes. They sounded bare. Wet. Something was coming. I noped the hell out. Slammed the elevator button. It didn't work. I tried again. And again. Whatever it was, it started moving faster. And I swear, I heard it breathe. Like a long inhale, but not human. Shallow and twitchy. Like a broken recording of someone trying to hyperventilate. I don't know how, but the elevator finally snapped shut. It lurched upward. I was shaking so bad I dropped my phone. Didn't even notice until I got out, on the ground floor. Normal lights, normal sounds. Everything was normal again, except the elevator was gone. I turned around, and the corridor where it had been, it was just a blank concrete wall, like it had never existed. I don't know what I found. I don't know if I was supposed to survive that. But last night, I got an airdrop while walking to the store. No sender. It was a picture, a grainy CCTV screenshot of me, standing on that hallway, and behind me, just barely in frame, something with hands too long and skin too pale. Watching, the picture didn't look like anything special at first glance, like those hallway screenshots you see in low-budget horror TikToks. But the longer I stared, the more I felt my stomach start doing flips. I mean literal nausea, like my body knew something before my brain caught up. The hallway behind me was stretched way longer than it actually was when I was there, like someone was dragging the pixels out with tweezers, turning straight walls into this warped tunnel that looked like it shouldn't physically fit in the space I stepped into. But what froze me wasn't the hallway. It was my face. I wasn't looking at the camera. I was looking away, over my shoulder, straight at that thing. Except here's the part I can't explain. In the picture, my mouth was open like I was screaming, but I never screamed. My lips were clamped shut the entire time. I remember biting down hard enough. I tasted iron. So why the hell did the picture show me screaming? I didn't sleep that night. I just sat awake, doom scrolling X, flipping between random live streams and horror animation channels, trying to distract myself. Anything to not think about what I saw. I literally left all my lights on, sat in my chair, hoodie wrapped around me, watching pointless TikToks about haunted Starbucks bathrooms in Japan and creepy Disneyland urban legends. My mind keeps wandering back to that elevator, as if some part of me was still stuck on that floor. Around 4 a.m., I checked the airdrop history again because I couldn't stop thinking about it. The sender ID? It just said null, not unknown, not blank. Null. Someone deliberately entered that. Here's where it gets worse. I scroll down. There were 5 transfers listed, not 1, meaning that picture had been sent 5 times. I just hadn't noticed the notifications. 4 of them failed. Only the last one went through. I clicked info on each failed entry, and they all had different timestamps, exactly 3 minutes apart. And they all came in before the moment I even got near the store. Someone, or something, was trying to send me that picture before I even arrived. I felt something cold crawl across my scalp, thinking about that. I was being watched ahead of time. Something predicted where I'd be. Or worse, something knew because it had been following me since the elevator. I shoved my phone into my pocket like somehow that would make it stop existing, and went outside for air. There's this little 24/7 bodega near my apartment. It's always playing a reggaeton way too loud, even at night. The kind of place everyone goes for Arizona iced tea and lottery tickets. I just needed bright fluorescent lights and noise. But on my way there, something happened that has me legitimately questioning if something attached itself to me. Not metaphorically, I mean literally. As I passed under one of those buzzing street lamps that flicker like a bad horror transition, I heard what sounded like footsteps behind me, but not normal footsteps. They were staggered, heavy on one side, dragging on the other, like someone pulling a leg that didn't belong to them. I didn't turn around at first. I pretended to scroll my phone like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm normal. Nothing's freaking me out. Except my reflection in the screen betrayed everything. I was shaking so hard, I nearly dropped it. And then a notification slid down across the top. AirDrop request again. But this time, the screen didn't show the preview thumbnail. It just said, "Don't turn around." Not kidding. Not exaggerating. That exact sentence. The sender name? Me. As if my own phone was sending warnings to itself. I froze so hard, I forgot how breathing worked. I didn't tap accept, didn't tap decline, just stared at the text. A cold wind brushed the back of my neck, and my ears filled with this sound, like whispering, but not words. It sounded like someone scraping fingernails along the inside of a wooden box. Slow, curious, almost gentle. Finally, I forced myself to walk, not run. Walking felt safer, like running would make a chase. I swear I walked like a mannequin, stiff and robotic, like I was afraid any sudden motion would signal something. The bodega lights flooded over me like a lifeline. I stepped inside, grabbed whatever I could, chips, a soda, anything, just to look normal, like I wasn't being hunted through Brooklyn streets by something wearing footsteps, like a costume. When I got home, something weird happened with my apartment door. The lock was warm, like someone had just touched it. Not the air, not the metal itself, the lock part, like a hand had been holding it from the other side. That night, I left my phone charging on my desk and crawled into bed. I didn't sleep again, not because I couldn't, because I was listening to every noise outside my door. At around 5:30 a.m., just before sunrise, I heard something scrape across the hallway outside my apartment. Not footsteps, not movement. A dragging sound, long and slow, like someone pulling something heavy down the corridor. I literally held my breath, thinking maybe if I didn't move, whatever it was would pass by. But it didn't pass. It stopped right outside my door. And then I heard it breathe, not through lungs. The closest comparison I can give is a long, wet exhale through teeth, like something trying to mimic breathing without ever needing to do it. And then the worst thing of all, my phone lit up from across the room. AirDrop request, this time with a preview. A picture of my apartment door, taken from the hallway. But the timestamp? 5 minutes before I got home. Meaning whatever was in that hallway didn't follow me. It arrived first. I didn't open the picture right away. I just stared at that glowing notification like it was a countdown strapped to my phone. I could see the preview blurred. My apartment door, the number on it warped, like someone breathed across the lens. But there was something off about the framing. My door looked farther away than it actually is, like whoever took the picture was standing at the very end of the hallway. Except there is no end. My unit is the last one. The building literally stops at my door. I slid my thumb to accept. Yeah, dumb move, I know, but fear makes you do things curiosity normally wouldn't survive through. The full picture loaded. There's no easy way to say this, so I'm just saying it. My hallway was longer in the picture than it is in real life. Like the photo added extra feet of space behind whoever took it. And way in that dark stretch, so far back, it looked almost digital, was a shape. Just one. Not fully a person, not fully a shadow. Like something halfway done, becoming one or the other. I swear it was leaning toward my door, tilted at an angle humans don't tilt. Like its spine was remembering a different shape. I dropped my phone, literally threw it off my bed. It clattered against the floor so loud it echoed. And then, knock knock. Not a normal knock. 3 taps, like fingernails. Slow, patient, as if touching the door just to feel how thin it was. I didn't move. Not because I was brave, because fear pinned me like a knife through paper. Then a scrape, like someone dragging their fingertips down the wood, testing grain direction. The kind of sound that makes you feel cold under the skin, behind muscles, deeper than nerves can reach. I checked the peephole. Yeah, I shouldn't have, but every horror movie ever teaches you curiosity ruins everything, and there I was doing exactly that. The hallway on the other side wasn't my hallway anymore. The lights were dimmer. No, not dimmer, older. The wallpaper looked yellow-stained and peeling, the floor tiles cracked, carpet ripped like something had clawed through it long before I ever moved in. And directly across, instead of the elevator lobby, it was just more hallway stretching past where the building should physically exist. Then movement, slow, deliberate, like someone stepping back just out of sight the second my eye hit the glass. This isn't the part most people believe, but whatever. Believe it or don't, I felt something shift in the peephole, like pressure pushing against my eye, like something was trying to see through me. I jerked back so fast I nearly fell. Lights in my apartment flickered, not all at once, one by one. Kitchen, living room, the tiny lamp near the couch. Click, 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 until only my bedroom light stayed. My phone vibrated again. New picture. No text this time. I picked it up without breathing. This one wasn't of the hallway. It was inside my apartment, my kitchen. Same angle as my security cam, but I don't have a security cam. The photo quality was an iPhone clean. It was grainy, dark, like an old CCTV camera. Everything slightly crooked, like the lens was warping the edges. And what stopped my heart cold, every cabinet was open, every drawer pulled out, utensils scattered over the counter, like someone rummaging for the right shape of metal. Something was going through my kitchen drawers, inches behind the walls, while I stood there. I didn't hear a sound, not one. You can't imagine how horrifying silence becomes when you know something is moving, but you can't hear it. It's like your body starts hearing inside itself. Blood pounding, heartbeat thudding like footsteps. I grabbed the only thing next to me, a flashlight I keep for blackout nights. The beam shook from my hand, trembling. I crept to my bedroom door, pushed, slowly. The hallway light outside my room flickered again, once, like it was warning me. I pointed the flashlight toward the kitchen. Every cabinet was closed, every drawer perfectly shut, nothing out of place, like someone knew I was coming before I even moved. I backed up, closed the door, locked it out of instinct, even though there's no lock on the inside. Stupid, right? My brain wanted a barrier, even if it didn't exist. The next hour was just silence and waiting for something, anything, to break it. I must have stared at the floor so long I forgot what time was. I kept glancing at the door, expecting something to press against the bottom, a shadow creeping along the crack. My skin felt tighter than my clothes, like fear was shrinking me from the inside. At exactly 6:01 a.m., my phone buzzed with that harsh vibration that rattles the whole device. Not an airdrop this time. A notification from my camera's app. Movement detected. Kitchen. I've never installed cameras. There's no cameras app on my home screen. But suddenly, it was there, like it had always existed. And the thumbnail was live. I tapped it with a finger that didn't feel attached to me anymore. The feed was pitch black, except something faint. a shape moving just barely in frame. Something long, thin, like arms searching the dark by memory alone, not touching anything, just hovering. And then the feed glitched, like static chewed the picture, until that shape was suddenly closer to the camera without ever showing how it moved. Then the feed froze altogether. The timestamp glitched. Numbers rearranged themselves. The date changed backwards by 1 day, and text appeared in shaky digital letters. We need you to come back down, not up, down, as if whatever this thing is wasn't done with me, as if that hallway, the one behind the elevator, wasn't some abandoned secret floor, but a door, a place waiting for its visitor, and somehow it already knew I was still thinking about it. It wanted me back, and the worst part, something inside me wanted to go. I didn't go back that night. That's probably the most normal sentence in this entire thing, but I'm saying it because what happened next wasn't a single moment. It was a sequence, a slow descent disguised as everyday life, pretending everything was fine, except it never was. The next morning, I woke up on the couch with my shoes still on. I don't remember falling asleep. I don't even remember lying down. In fact, I remember telling myself I wouldn't. But the second I opened my eyes, sunlight leaking through the blinds in thin, broken stripes, I felt something was off. The living room looked tilted, not actually slanted, but like the perspective wasn't centered correctly, as if the geometry of the room had shifted by just a few degrees while I was unconscious. I checked my phone. No new pictures, but my wallpaper was different. Not something obvious, just darker, like the brightness had dropped on only the background image. I tried adjusting settings, but the slider didn't change anything. My wallpaper looked permanently stuck inside a shadow that moved behind the icons like a cloud passing overhead, except there was no cloud. At around noon, my phone buzzed again. Not from the camera's app, from Maps, a location pin, sent by unknown coordinates, 40.7505 degrees north, 73.9934 degrees west. Same as before. Madison Square Garden. Only this time, there was a small red symbol next to it, a down arrow, pulsing slowly. I tried deleting the notification, wouldn't go away. Tried restarting. Phone powered back on, with the notification already sitting there, as if it lived underneath the software. But the symbol pulsed faster. For a moment, I thought about ignoring it and going anywhere else. Times Square, Central Park, literally Starbucks across the street. But the idea of being surrounded by thousands of people didn't help. Not when something could show up without needing a physical place to stand. I felt watched in a way sunlight couldn't fix. Still, I needed normal. So I walked to the Starbucks on 7th and bought the most basic coffee possible, iced vanilla latte, and tried to sit there like someone whose world didn't just bend at the edges. Every time the door opened, I looked up like a hunted animal, but nobody looked at me. Nobody noticed anything, except one guy. Far corner, by the outlet table, where everyone does homework or remote work. He wore an MSG staff jacket, navy, patch on the sleeve. He wasn't drinking anything, no laptop, just sitting there like he was waiting for instructions that hadn't arrived yet. He didn't blink much, and every time my eyes drifted toward him, he shifted like he expected me to stand. I left without finishing my drink. The moment I stepped outside, my phone vibrated again, hard enough to sting my hand. New message, unknown sender, just 2 words, elevator reset. I didn't respond. I didn't have time to. The typing indicator popped up immediately, 3 dots appearing like something breathing on glass. Then another message, code ready. That's when I noticed something terrifying. Every notification, every line of text, was in the same font used in the elevator panel. I felt a cold pulse behind my teeth, like fear vibrating inside bone instead of skin. People pushed past me on the sidewalk, life moving even though mine wasn't. That's what scared me the most. Nothing around me changed, even though everything inside me had. I didn't want to go back, but avoiding it didn't feel safer, like something had already chosen the outcome. The choice wasn't go or don't go. It was go willingly or get dragged. So that night, same date, but hours later, I ended up back at MSG, except nothing looked familiar. Security gates were down, but every locked door felt optional the second I approached it. Cameras hung overhead, but they didn't follow movement. They pointed away from me, like something invisible guided them. I didn't look for elevator E7. My body already knew where to go. Not like memory, more like instinct someone else programmed. The closer I got, the less modern the building felt. Fluorescent lights flickered slower. Floor tiles lost color. The air tasted metallicness, like breathing through old batteries. And then I saw it. The elevator. E7. Waiting. Door already open, like I was late. Inside, the keypad glowed. Numbers rearranged themselves, flickering through combinations until they settled on one code, different from before. 5,514. The second I saw it, something cold passed behind me, not touching, just circling, as if the space around my body was being measured. My finger hovered, and then I realized something. This wasn't about where the elevator could take me. It was about showing how far it could reach. I typed the digits. 5, 5, 1, 4. The doors closed before I finished breathing. The elevator moved without sound. No cables, no rumble, just motion, like falling in slow motion. And then, darkness. Deep, absolute, swallowing the red glow until I couldn't see my own hand. A voice didn't speak, but something entered my head like sound delivered without ears. Not every floor has a world above it. The elevator stopped. Silence expanded like a physical thing. The door slid open without noise into a place I swear was never meant for people. A floor that shouldn't exist. A level without purpose. An architecture without humanity. But something there moved, and it had been waiting. The doors opened like they'd been forced apart, not slid, like someone on the other side was prying with fingernails until the metal gave in. And the first thing I noticed wasn't what I saw. It was what I didn't. No lights, no sound, not even the buzz of electricity. You ever walk into a room so dark your body tells you it's not empty? Not because you see anything, but because you feel seen. That was the kind of dark this was. Heavy, pressing, like stepping into a closed mouth and feeling breath roll over you from the throat of something too still to be sleeping. I stepped out, because what else was I gonna do? Stay in the elevator, wait for it to go up again? It didn't. Behind me, the doors didn't close. They retracted, slowly, creaking like bones bending. I didn't even hear the sound with my ears. I felt it through my ribs. I turned on my phone flashlight. Mistake. The second light hit the hallway. The darkness moved. Not like it retreated. No, like it twitched. Like a living thing that didn't appreciate being seen. The walls were concrete, cracked, covered in ancient rust, but the rust was wet, glimmering, some of it still dripping, slow and rhythmic. I swear it sounded like a heartbeat. And then I saw them, the doors, identical, all down the hallway. None of them marked with numbers, no handles, just narrow vertical windows, like school doors. But all the glass had been frosted from the inside, like whatever was behind them didn't want to see out, but didn't want me seeing in either, except one. One window had no frost. I shouldn't have looked, but my body didn't ask me. I walked straight to it, feet moving like they belonged to something else. I put my face to the glass. Inside was a room, empty, stone floor, single overhead bulb dangling on a cord that swayed like it had just been disturbed. In the middle of the room was a chair, and in the chair, me, strapped down, face bloated, eyes wrong, too glossy, like they'd been staring for hours without ever closing. My jaw was dislocated, hung open too far, like I'd screamed something out so hard my face never returned to normal. And my body, twitching, just enough to prove that version of me wasn't dead. I stepped back from the window and stumbled. The floor wasn't even. It was sloping, gently, like the hallway itself was tilting me towards something. For a moment, I didn't think I'd moved at all, that it was the building moving around me. A sound pierced through that moment, something between a cry and a gurgle. Not human, not from an animal either. The kind of sound you'd hear in a recording recovered from a tape buried under a hospital that burned down in the 50s. Then came the scratching, long, dragging, behind the walls. Not mice, not rats. Something with longer fingers. Something bigger than a man, but smaller than a door, like it lived in the spaces between rooms. Then another door creaked open ahead of me. Not slammed, not even pushed, just slightly nudged by something invisible. I walked past it. I didn't stop. Every step sounded wrong, like the echo came back before my foot even hit the ground. The hallway turned sharply left. There was no end. It kept stretching. I swear it was longer every time I blinked. And then I noticed something that made my mouth go dry. The elevator wasn't behind me anymore. The hallway behind me just ended. A wall. Seamless. That's when the light flickered behind me. I turned. There was a figure. At the other end, barely visible, head tilted at an angle a person can't physically hold without snapping vertebrae. Legs too long, arms dragging behind it, fingertips grazing the floor like it was reading braille from the concrete. And it was waiting. The hallway narrowed. I couldn't breathe. The ceiling felt lower now. Not metaphorically. Literally. I had to crouch. The air smelled like wet coins and rotten wood. And then the thing took a step. Just one. It didn't walk. It advanced like something being unpaused. A jolt forward. No warning. The lights above me began shutting off. Pop, pop, pop. One by one. Whatever was behind me wanted me in total darkness again. I ran, but the hallway didn't cooperate. The walls moved. I swear on everything. They closed in like lungs exhaling. Not to crush, but to trap. Funnel. Herd. And that's when I saw it. At the very end, lit by a single spotlight, like some awful theater stage. Another elevator. But this one wasn't metal. It was made of bone. Not literal bone, but shaped like it. Rib-like arches, organic curves. The panel inside looked like stretched skin, veins pulsing faintly under a transparent membrane. I got inside. I didn't hesitate. There was no keypad, no button, just a hole. A small circular socket, flesh-rimmed, and I knew exactly what it wanted. My finger. I pressed it in, felt the wetness, the heat, like shoving your hand inside something freshly opened. The door closed behind me. Darkness again. But then the elevator ascended. Not fast, not slow, just constant. like time forgot how to count. I expected to arrive back on ground level, but when the door opened, I wasn't in Madison Square Garden. I wasn't in New York. I was in an airport, empty, silent, motionless. But the signs were all wrong. Gate numbers too high. Advertisements for brands that didn't exist. A vending machine that sold meat drink in cans. And on the wall, a map labeled Concourse -33, with arrows pointing to terminals named after things no one should name, places after Terminal Hunger, Terminal Sorrow, Terminal Witness. And then I heard footsteps, not coming toward me, walking away. But I didn't see anyone, not until I passed a reflective panel and caught my own reflection, smiling. But I wasn't. That's when it hit me. I never left that lower floor. Whatever I am now, I'm what came back instead. A dark web travel group paid me to skydive over Tokyo. My helmet cam recorded a second Tokyo beneath the clouds. Alright, so I've never posted to Reddit before, but I think this needs to be said somewhere. I don't even care if you believe me. I just want this out there, because something is going on in Tokyo, and not the Tokyo you see in those drone videos on TikTok. I'm talking about something beneath it. For context, I'm 25, work remotely as a freelance video editor, mostly YouTube and TikTok content. Pretty chill gig. I get a lot of free time, which means I get bored easily. And when I'm bored, I go digging. Rabbit holes, Discord servers, crypto forums, weird corners of YouTube where the videos have 1,000 views and no comments. That kind of stuff. Some of it's creepy, yeah, but that's the thrill. Usually it's just kids trying to LARP as hackers, but sometimes you find things that feel off. This all started because of a guy named mod.ave I met on a private subreddit. It wasn't even dark web level yet, just a locked thread called r/altglobe. Basically a community for underground travel opportunities. Think Airbnb for adrenaline junkies, but sketchier and mostly unmoderated. Anyway, mod.avi posted this one thread that just said, "Ever wanted to skydive into the sky twice? We're hiring a traveler. You'll get a free flight to Tokyo, $7,000 in USDC, full equipment, GoPro plus data bonus. Must be chill with NDAs, no GPS tagging, no live streaming. DM, I'm in with proof of prior jumps. Sketchy, right? But I'd actually done a couple tandem jumps in Arizona last year. Filmed them too. So I DM'd him. Thought it was probably just a glorified sponsored video scam. He responded within minutes. You're exactly what we need. Meet us in Shibuya by November 11th. Bring nothing you can't lose." That was literally it. I didn't even get a contract. But the crypto was real. It hit my phantom wallet less than 10 minutes later. $7,000. Just like that. All in stablecoin. No clawbacks. So obviously, I booked the flight. I figured I'd just dip if it got too weird. Worst case, I got a Tokyo vacation and a decent vlog out of it. I touched down in Narita on the 9th. Stayed at a capsule hotel near Harajuku. Super cramped, but clean. Kinda vibey. I remember the weirdest thing was how normal everything felt. Like, I was expecting some underground spy thriller energy, right? But nah. I walked around, ate McDonald's, Japanese McChicken slap, visited a Pokemon Center, bought a $100 Jenga hoodie I'll never wear. The meetup location was this old bar in Nonbei Yokocho, real narrow alley of drinking holes near Shibuya Station. Like, if you blink, you miss it. The bar didn't even have a name, just a red paper lantern and a QR code sticker on the doorframe. I scanned it out of curiosity. It pulled up a black page with white text. Enter when you hear your name. No sound, no video, just text. So I stood there like an idiot for maybe 5 minutes. Was about to leave when this absolutely synthetic voice, like Siri if she smoked unfiltered cigarettes, came from a hidden speaker above the door. Elias. That's me. I stepped inside. There was no bartender, no people, just 4 guys at a corner booth, all wearing matte black motorcycle helmets, like full-faced mirrored visors. They looked like Fortnite skins in real life. No one said anything. One of them just pointed to a chair and slid a duffel bag across the table. It had a custom jumpsuit, matte gray with no logos, a GoPro Hero 11 mounted in a reinforced carbon helmet, pre-synced, one of those encrypted satellite phones, the old brick kind, a black envelope. Inside the envelope was a paper map, Tokyo, but the streets were all wrong. It looked like a mirror of Tokyo, but rotated 180 degrees. Places I recognized, Roppongi, Shinjuku, Akihabara, were marked in reverse, like a flipped game board. Some were circled in red, others crossed out in X's. There was also a post-it note. Jump at 5:44 a.m. Clouds required. Helmet records only once. Land where you can. That last line really should have made me leave, but I didn't. I was already in too deep, man. And there's something about when you're this far from home, in a foreign city, alone, and someone hands you a mystery and $7,000, you want to see it through, even if your gut is screaming that something's off. On the 11th, I met the group again, this time at a helipad outside the city near Mount Takao. It was barely sunrise. The sky was thick with clouds, like whipped cream smeared across the horizon. The exact kind of clouds where you can't see what's beneath you until you're through them. There were no names, no handshakes. They just suited me up, tightened the helmet, synced the GoPro again, and checked my pulse. The last thing the lead helmet guy said was, "Don't blink after you fall through the clouds." Then I jumped, and that's where everything went wrong. I've watched the footage 100 times since, and I still don't understand it. From the plane, everything looked normal. The Tokyo skyline, the cloud cover, even the sun peeking over the edge. But once I broke through the clouds at around 9,000 feet, the sky flipped. I'm not joking. It was like the city duplicated beneath me, but this one was dark. Not nighttime dark, burned out. The buildings were scorched, flickering, crumbling like someone had turned Tokyo into a Silent Hill level. There were no cars, no lights, but the shapes were identical to real Tokyo. Same layout, same landmarks, same giant red crab sign in Shinsaibashi. But it was rotting, and then my helmet crackled. Static, then a voice. "Do not land in Shinjuku." The voice wasn't anyone I'd met. It was female. Calm. Too calm. Like a podcast narrator. And it kept repeating, "Do not land in Shinjuku. Do not land in Shinjuku." But I was spinning. Wind shear was pulling me off course. I tried to stabilize, but my suit felt too heavy, like I was falling through molasses. I pulled the chute maybe 2,000 feet too late. I could see the reflection of real Tokyo above me, through the clouds I had pierced, like a ghost mirror, but it was fading fast, and below me, burned Shinjuku, flickering signs, streets full of ash, and something moving along the crosswalks, slow, twitching shapes. People, or what used to be people. I didn't land. I crashed. and when I stood up, bleeding and concussed, my GoPro still recording, someone walked up to me from the smoke, wearing my exact same suit and my face. I wish I could tell you I screamed or fought or did something, but the truth is I just froze. Imagine looking at someone wearing your exact jumpsuit, same GoPro mount, same gloves, and then realizing the helmet visor was cracked just enough that I could see skin underneath. My skin tone, my jawline, even the tiny scar I have under my chin from when I fell off a bike in 3rd grade. But here's what made every cell in my body go ice cold. This version of me had burn marks creeping up his neck, like he'd been standing way too close to an explosion. He didn't speak, didn't even turn his head normally. It was like he moved frame by frame, just slightly delayed, as if reality was buffering around him. The posture was wrong too. He stood like he was balancing on uneven ground, even though the street around us was flat. I kept waiting for him to say something like "hey" or "help" or literally anything, but he just kept this stiff posture and slowly tilted his head like a dog hearing a noise on TikTok. Then the GoPro in his helmet chirped. Same startup tone as mine, like someone pressed a button remotely. And that's what snapped me out of being paralyzed. I tried backing up, but my parachute lines were dragging behind me, snagging on broken signposts, and piles of what I'm praying were rubble and not something else. The air was thick, smelled like burned electronics, and that chemical sting you get from fireworks after New Year's. The buildings around me looked like melted plastic, glass warped, signs drooping, electric billboards flickering, just enough to flash an image before dying again. One billboard was advertising Starbucks Reserve, Tokyo. The picture was perfect, but every time it flickered off, you could see another image underneath. A burned version of the same Starbucks, same building shape, but all the windows broken and the interior pitch black. Like two realities were blinking between frames. The guy wearing my face started walking toward me. Not fast, but inevitable. Small controlled steps, like a marionette being guided. My instinct was to grab the emergency locator beacon strapped on my suit, but the moment I pressed it, my earpiece screeched with static so loud I thought my brain was going to burst through my skull. Under the static, I swear I heard a voice repeating something in Japanese, flat tone, monotone, like Siri reading emergency instructions. I don't speak Japanese, but I recognize one word because you hear it all the time in anime and TikTok memes. Korosu. I didn't know what it meant then. Later someone told me it means to kill. The static cut out and something else came through. A woman's voice again, same one that warned me during the fall, but this time she sounded closer, like she was whispering right against my ear. If he touches you, you'll replace him. I swear to God, that's what she said. I didn't have time to process what that meant, because something hissed right behind me, like steam bursting from a pipe. I spun around, expecting fire or something mechanical, but what I saw instead made my brain go numb in a way I can't explain. There were people, or what looked like people, moving along the street in slow jerking motions, heads twitching like puppets with tangled strings. Their clothes looked melted onto their skin, like fabric fused to flesh, and their eyes weren't burned. They were normal, painfully normal, like real humans trapped inside bodies that didn't know how to move anymore. I wanted to run, but I didn't even know where to go, because this wasn't real Tokyo. Shinjuku Station wasn't where it should be. Buildings were taller than the ones above the clouds, streets were narrower, and the sky wasn't sky. It was a dark orange glow with clouds shaped like smoke instead of weather. Every direction looked wrong. Every direction looked dangerous. That thing wearing my face started speaking, finally, but his voice didn't come from his mouth. It came through my GoPro headset, same channel, like he was piggybacking on my audio feed. "You weren't supposed to come yet," he said it calmly. No anger, no threat, just weird disappointment, like I'd shown up early to a birthday surprise. I yelled something, I don't remember what, but the moment I moved, the others turned toward me. Every single one of them. Their heads didn't turn smoothly either. They twisted, like someone grabbed their skulls and yanked too far to one side, bones cracking beneath burned skin. The woman's voice came back immediately. "Don't let them smell you. Hold your breath." I did. I literally held my breath like I was underwater. 1, 2, 3 seconds. Then one of them got close enough. I could hear its breathing, cracking and rattling through ruined lungs. I realized their clothes weren't just burned. They were the same outfits real people in Tokyo wear. I recognized a Uniqlo puffer jacket. I recognized a guy wearing a Tokyo Giants baseball cap. It hit me then. These were real people. People who existed. People who might still exist above the clouds right now. And whatever happened down here, it was like a carbon copy of Tokyo after something catastrophic. The version of me, whatever he was, took another step. He raised his hand and pointed behind me, like he was giving directions. "Subway entrance." That's all he said, and I don't know why, but something, some primal part of me, just ran. I sprinted past burned out cars, past melted vending machines, past piles of ash shaped like people sitting exactly like they were waiting for trains, down cracked subway stairs, my parachute getting torn and shredded behind me. When I reached the bottom, something insane happened. My phone vibrated. Full signal, perfect LTE, battery still at 83%. I pulled it out like an idiot, because of course I did. And you know what it showed? Instagram. But the feed wasn't mine. It was his. Photos of places I had never been, with captions written exactly the way I write. Emojis I use all the time. Same slang, same filters, same editing style. One of the photos made my knees literally give out, because it wasn't a selfie. It was POV. Me skydiving from above the clouds, but the version of Tokyo below wasn't real Tokyo. It was the burned version. He'd already done this. Someone else commented on the post. "I survived the descent. You won't." The username wasn't a username. It was my full real name, my legal name, the one I never use online. At that moment, footsteps started coming down the stairs behind me. Slow, careful, synchronized, like one pair of feet, but sounding like multiple. I didn't look back. I ran deeper into the tunnels where the flickering emergency lights barely worked, passing abandoned turnstiles and burned posters. The air got colder the further I went, like the underground was breathing. I don't know how long I ran. Time didn't feel real anymore. But eventually, the tunnel opened into a massive station. Not Shinjuku Station. Bigger, silent, dark. There was an escalator leading even further down, and a sign above it that still haunts me. B2, Tokyo below. As if it was normal. As if people just used it. Before I could take another step, that same woman's voice whispered directly behind me. But there was no warmth, no breath. It was like the air itself spoke. If you go down there, you're not coming back up. I turned, thinking maybe finally I'd see her. But there was no one. Just darkness sliding up the tunnel like a slow wave coming to swallow everything. And then, behind the darkness, I saw movement. Multiple figures, all wearing my face, all walking toward me from different directions, their helmets flickering, their GoPros recording, like they were documenting every step I took. I tried calling out to anyone, but the darkness came faster, too fast, like someone hit fast forward on reality. Then everything went silent, not quiet, silent, like sound itself just turned off. My vision blurred, my legs stopped responding. I remember collapsing into cold tile. The last thing I saw before everything went black was my own reflection in the GoPro lens of the version of me kneeling over my body. And I swear, he smiled. I don't remember blacking out, but I remember waking up. And that was somehow worse. Not a clean fade in like in movies, more like consciousness got dropped on top of me, heavy and wrong, like a weight pinning me into myself. The first thing I noticed was the air, cold, metallic, like the smell you get near subway rails, mixed with old coins. I was lying on tile, wet, freezing tile, and every few seconds, the ground vibrated like something massive was moving far below us. My GoPro was still recording, red light blinking steadily. I didn't touch it. I was afraid if I moved too fast, something would see me move. It was silent until the speakers came on. Somewhere in the tunnels, ancient station speakers crackled awake and started playing train departure chimes, the exact ones you hear in real Japanese stations, except these were slowed down, dragging, like someone grabbed the sound and stretched it out until the notes lost all shape and turned into something that didn't sound human-made anymore. Then came an announcement, female voice, calm but empty. Please stand behind the yellow line, permanently. I kept my head down, pretending to still be unconscious. I could hear footsteps coming from the far tunnel, rhythmic, not human-paced. The steps were too evenly timed, like a perfect loop being played by a machine. Every instinct told me not to look, but curiosity is poison, and I looked anyway, and I saw them, not versions of me, not burned people, something else. Tall figures, wearing train conductor uniforms, but the fabric hung wrong, like it had been soaked and dried over something that wasn't shaped like a person anymore. They didn't have faces, just faint impressions of where a face should be, like someone pressed a mask into clay and then took it away. Their hands dragged something heavy across the floor, the sound of metal scraping tile far behind them, echoing through dark tunnels, like a scream that refused to be a scream. They weren't coming toward me. They were going down the escalator, toward lower levels, toward B3. My brain did the one thing I didn't want it to do. Imagine what could possibly exist on B3. When the figures disappeared, I forced myself to stand, legs shaking, ears ringing with the endless chimes echoing every direction. I needed to find any kind of exit, or a staircase, or something that meant up. I passed vending machines so rusted the cans inside had collapsed into dust, but the buttons still glowed faint green, meaning something was powering them. Their digital displays flickered between cheerful product ads and warning messages written in Japanese, then English, then a language I swear wasn't human. One message stayed just long enough to read, "If you buy something, it will remember you." I forced myself not to stir. Every tunnel looked the same, tiled like a normal station, just darker, colder, like something centuries old pretending to be modern. Some of the walls had posters, movie posters, anime posters, even ads for Starbucks and McDonald's. But all the eyes in every poster were scratched out, not vandalized, more like paper dissolved wherever faces were printed. Even Ronald McDonald was blurred into a faceless smear. I kept following signs labeled exit, even though they were all pointing contradictory directions. Some arrows literally pointed into a dead wall, like someone decided directions didn't matter here. Eventually, I found a gate, old steel, dented like something massive had tried pushing through. Beyond it was an older tunnel, no tiles, just raw concrete, and scratched into the wall in English were words that didn't match any handwriting I recognized from any language. Slanted letters, carved multiple times like someone was desperate and shaking. Don't be below when the train arrives. I didn't want to imagine what that meant, but the universe decided to show me anyway. Deep down the tunnel, far beyond the darkness, I heard a train horn, but no normal horn. This one sounded like something huge bellowing underwater, vibrating my chest, my teeth, even my ribs. The female voice whispered again in my ear, close enough to feel. Run. No yelling, no urgency, just a tired warning, like she'd said it 1,000 times and already knew most people didn't listen. I ran, hard, dark concrete tunnel, low ceiling, water dripping everywhere. It felt like running through abandoned catacombs beneath a city that shouldn't have catacombs. Behind me, slow at first, the tunnel lights switched on automatically, one by one, each flicking awake with a cold electric buzz, like something was following me, turning the lights on as it approached, not running, just advancing, patient. My lungs were on fire, but I didn't dare stop. I turned a corner without even thinking and nearly slammed into a door, heavy metal door, bolted, locked. Someone, no, a lot of someones, had scratched into the metal, so deep the grooves were silver. Don't let them call your name. Then, behind me, the speakers popped. Static exploded through every tunnel like fireworks going off underwater. And then I heard it. A voice calling out a name. Not just any name. Mine. Not yelled. Spoken calmly, like attendance roll call in school. I clawed at the door, panic crushing my lungs, nails breaking against metal. My GoPro blinked faster, recording every second. Another voice joined in, this one deeper, then another, all calling my name, not shouting, just calling, over and over, like voices programmed into the walls. Something metallic scraped slowly along tile behind me. I didn't look. I couldn't. I kicked the door until something inside my leg snapped pain, so real I almost vomited. The hinges didn't budge, but the door frame cracked just enough for me to wedge my fingers through and pull. Somehow, it opened, and I fell into another corridor, this one lined with old digital screens, each flickering. I was ready for warnings or instructions or threats, but instead, every screen showed a live video feed of real Tokyo, the real above the clouds Tokyo, except the camera angles were impossible, like satellite views, drone views, CCTV angles from places that definitely didn't have cameras, inside hotel rooms, inside apartments, cafes, bathrooms, elevators, everyday people, living normal lives, drinking Starbucks, waiting at crosswalks, taking mirror selfies. None of them had any idea this place existed beneath them. Then the screens changed, flickered glitch fast, and suddenly every screen showed me, all different versions of me. sleeping, eating, walking streets, standing at airports, jumping from planes. Hundreds of versions, different days, different clothes, different angles. Some of them showed me doing things I know I've never done, talking to strangers I've never met, going places I've never been, living moments I don't remember living. The screen zoomed in on one specific feed, me sitting at home, editing video, drinking iced coffee, totally normal. That version of me looked at the camera, straight into the lens, like he knew I was watching, and then he said it, clear audio coming through speakers above me. You're not supposed to be down there yet. Not angry, not scared, just stating a fact. Then all the screens shut off at once, except one, a zoomed-in feed of myself skydiving into the burned Tokyo again, except the timestamp was dated tomorrow. The train horn bellowed through the tunnels again, much closer this time, and every speaker whispered in unison. Passengers boarding now. Lights flickered, tiles rattled, air pressure changed so violently it felt like something massive was entering the tunnels behind me. I ran again, blindly, toward another staircase. Up is always safer than down. At least, that's what I thought. Halfway up the stairs, I heard footsteps following mine. Not running, not rushing, just climbing steadily, like whoever or whatever was behind me knew I could only go up so long before there was nowhere left to run. When I reached the next landing, a fresh sign glowed on the wall. B1, transfer level. Transfer to what? To where? I didn't care. I threw myself through the door. It didn't open into a station. It opened into night sky, but not Tokyo sky. This sky had 2 moons, and below those moons, another Tokyo, not burned, not real, something else. And that's where I'm going to stop this part, because part 4 is where I realized this wasn't about traveling below Tokyo. It was about replacing the Tokyo we know, piece by piece, person by person, version by version. And I think, God help me, I think I wasn't their first attempt. Just know this, below isn't underneath us. Below is waiting for us. I didn't pick Tokyo. Tokyo picked me. That was the first thought that slid into my mind when I stepped onto the transfer level, because absolutely nothing looked like a subway anymore. The air was warmer here, like something had exhaled right before I arrived. The walls weren't tiled. They were a smooth concrete white, too clean, too deliberate. It reminded me of the kind of futuristic Apple Store meets airport terminal architecture you see in anime set 50 years from now. But here's what hit me first. This version of the station felt alive, the same way a sleeping animal feels warm, even if it isn't moving. Every few seconds the floor vibrated, like breathing, and for 1 second I swear I saw the walls subtly expand, then contract, like lungs. A mechanical voice spoke overhead, louder than any speaker before it. Passengers transferring, identity pending, please prepare for verification. Not human, not robotic. Somewhere in the uncanny valley, where machines pretend they know how people sound, a series of digital display panels lit up along the hallway. At first, I thought it was train information, but nope. These screens were surveillance clips. Real-world Tokyo again. The normal Tokyo above the clouds, but each clip focused on a single person. Always a different person, different times, different places. Every screen zoomed in on someone, like the camera recognized them, highlighted them, then moved on. Those faces never looked up, never noticed anything odd. Just normal life. Starbucks drinks, McDonald's bag in a hand while scrolling TikTok. People doing the mundane things we all do every day. But the perspective was wrong again. Overhead angles where there are no cameras. Inside places that don't film customers. Then one screen flickered to someone sleeping in a hotel room in Ginza. They rolled over. The blanket moved. A shadow passed in the corner. No cameras should exist in places like that. I walked slowly down the corridor, trying to keep my breathing steady and quiet, like any kind of panic would make something notice me. Somewhere deep behind the walls, something clicked, like relays or giant mechanical vertebrae adjusting. The panels on the walls changed all at once, every screen showing me again. Not versions, just me. Each screen labeled with a timestamp. Some timestamps were from minutes ago. Some were from yesterday. Some were dated 3 days from now. And one was dated 5 months from now. Me sitting in a Shibuya Starbucks, typing on a laptop with a blank document open. I recognized the drink next to me because I order the same thing every time. Iced Americano, 2 classic pumps, extra ice. In the video, future me slowly lifted my phone, typed something, and hit upload. The screen froze on the upload icon. Caption above the video read, "Posting so they can find you." My stomach twisted tight because I realized something. The other me I saw underground hadn't been threatening me. He'd been waiting, like we were all on different timelines, all converging towards something inevitable, something horrible. At the end of the corridor, sliding doors opened silently, triggered by my steps. Beyond them, an escalator rising upward, not downward. Going up felt like salvation. Going up meant escape. I stepped onto the escalator. The metal treads hummed under my boots as I began to ascend into shadow. The air warmed again, like summer wind, and for a moment, I let myself hope I'd surface into real sunlight. Halfway up, emergency lights flickered on, slow, red pulses like a heartbeat. A voice spoke calmly overhead. Identity duplication processing. Something inside my helmet buzzed suddenly. Tiny electric vibration against my skull. The GoPro lens flickered static. Then the visor, shooed, lit up with a message I never installed. Mirror found processing. 17%. I ripped at the helmet, trying to tear it off. The chin strap tightened a fraction, as if someone tightened it remotely. No buckle, no release. It clicked tighter. 26%. I kept climbing the escalator, practically running up the moving steps now. My breath fogged inside the visor, smearing my view with streaks of panic moisture. At the top, finally, the escalator spilled into open space, and I stepped into another Tokyo. Bright, alive, daylight, cars, people, billboards, tourists filming at Shibuya Crossing, a group of girls laughing in H&M jackets, a guy snacking McNuggets from a McDonald's bag, the smell of fried food drifting in real air. Normal Tokyo. Except, no one noticed me. No one even glanced my way. I was in the middle of a massive crowd, and somehow completely invisible. When I saw the big screens above Shibuya Crossing, that's when my stomach dropped so hard I nearly fainted. Because on every massive billboard, where advertisements normally loop, there was video playing from my GoPro feed, live. Right now, first-person view of me looking around, confused, terrified, helmet lens, capturing angles like a YouTube live stream. Every single person around me was in the video too. Same positions, same movements, but they weren't looking at the screens at all. I held up my hand in front of the camera, and on the giant billboard, my hand appeared a second before I moved it. like reality had a 1-second delay, but only through the camera. The helmet pinged again. 63%. My vision warped. Buildings glitch blurred. People flickered slightly, like bad rendering in a video game. One person in the crowd finally looked at me. A little girl holding her mother's hand. She stared straight at me, like she could see me even when others couldn't. And she whispered something, barely audible. "You're late." Her mother tugged her away. The girl didn't blink the entire time she walked. Then I heard footsteps approaching behind me. Those slow, steady, identical steps, the ones from the underground. I spun around. Nothing was there, but the screens above changed. My GoPro feed zoomed in on me. Closer, closer, like the camera wanted to crawl into my face through the display. The crowd kept walking past me. No one reacted. No one cared. The helmet pulsed again. 79%. My own voice spoke from inside the helmet, except I wasn't talking. "Stop running. We need to finish." Approaching footsteps again. Closer. Louder. I didn't look back this time. I ran. Shoved through tourists and commuters, sprinting past a Starbucks with mirrored windows. And when I passed the glass, my reflection wasn't mine. It was the burned version. Melted skin. Helmet shattered. The face under it smiling. The reflection lifted a hand and touched the glass from inside. The real crowd didn't notice. Me slammed my shoulder against a taxi parked illegally across the curb. I yanked the door open and jumped inside. The driver didn't turn around, didn't look. I screamed at him, "Go! Drive!" He didn't react. I touched his shoulder. He was cold. I don't mean chilly. I mean dead ice. Like he wasn't a person at all, just shape and clothing. His head turned mechanically, one click at a time, until his face pointed toward me. But there was no face, just a blank mask of rotated skin. I stumbled back out onto the street, heart slamming, helmet vibrating so hard it felt like my skull was splitting. Above me, the screens flickered white, then black, then white again. A final message appeared. "You are arrived. Prepare for replacement." I tore off running again. Doesn't matter where. I just ran until my legs burned and lungs felt like they'd burst. I ducked into the first alley I saw. Narrow, shadowed, silent. And that's when someone grabbed my shoulder. I turned, ready to fight, scream, anything. And I was staring at my own face. Not burned, not melted. Perfect, clean. Same haircut, same eyes, same tiny chin scar. He didn't look surprised at all. He just said, like greeting me at an airport terminal, "I've been waiting for you. Part 5 is where you follow me." Then he stepped backward, straight through a concrete wall like it wasn't there. My helmet clicked again. 100% static exploded, and I blacked out. When I woke up again, I wasn't anywhere recognizable as Tokyo. Not the normal one, not the burned version, not the sterile transfer level. I was lying on some kind of platform, suspended over darkness. No edges, no walls, just endless black depth, and a single glowing rectangle floating above me, like a window screen ripped out of reality. The helmet was gone, but I could still hear static in my ears, like phantom audio that kept looping. Somewhere behind the static, voices murmured. Not loud, not aggressive, more like people talking in another room with the door almost closed. I stood up slowly. Every movement echoed like footsteps on an empty parking garage at 3 a.m. The glowing rectangle flickered. A progress bar stretched across it, bright white against the void. Uploading, 99.8%. My stomach turned so hard I almost collapsed again. Uploading what? Me? My memories? My identity? Below the progress bar, text scrolled like system logs. Version 256. Initialize transfer. Complete new instance. Pending new instance. Me. Or someone wearing me. The static sharpened. Voices merging into one voice. Layered like multiple versions, speaking slightly out of sync. You're late to your life. I spun around, and there he was. My double. The unburned one. No helmet. No visor. Just my face staring back like a mirror image printed onto a human body. He smiled first. Like he'd practiced smiling, but didn't understand why humans do it. Most versions don't make it here, he said. Calm. Normal. But the voice had no warmth. Just words. What are you? I asked. He shook his head gently. You're asking that like there's only one answer. There are thousands. I didn't know if he meant thousands of him or thousands of me. He paced in a slow arc around me, like circling prey was just polite conversation. You weren't supposed to descend yet, he continued. Your timeline wasn't aligned. Timeline. Not trip. Not mission. Time. I took a step back toward the edge. Not that there was really an edge, just more darkness. I could fall forever and never hit anything. Maybe some versions had. So what happens now? I managed. He didn't answer. He only watched me until the screen behind him beeped. Upload complete. The rectangle dissolved, pixels evaporating like burned paper. Somewhere far above us, something moved. Not a machine. Not metal. More like a shifting weight. The black space overhead rippled faintly, like the surface of a lake disturbed by something massive, moving just under it. We needed you, he said finally. The original you. Before they did. Before who did? My voice cracked. He blinked slowly. The ones above the clouds. A chill rolled through me, like ice water. You mean Tokyo? He actually laughed. Soft, like someone remembering a joke from another lifetime. You still think Tokyo is above? I didn't understand. And maybe he saw that confusion, because his expression softened, almost sympathetic. The clouds aren't sky. They're the layer. Layer, like a filter, a sheet, a cover. Something in my brain locked up and refused to process the implication. He took another step toward me, close enough I could feel heat from him, like he was a real body and not a projection. Look, he said, barely above a whisper. It doesn't matter if you understand. They already scanned you. They already mapped you. You're already split. Split? He leaned forward until our foreheads nearly touched. You're not the one who walked into this conversation. You're the one who woke up. Suddenly, the darkness around us pulsed. One deep thrum that rattled inside my ribs. Far away, lights flickered like distant windows. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Some glowing cold white. Others pulsing with color. Like an entire city turned sideways beneath us. Tokyo. Beneath Tokyo. Beneath Tokyo. Stacked like layers of digital replicas. One glitch away from crashing into each other. The double turned his head toward the faint lights, listening to something I couldn't hear. They're calling the next one, he murmured. Next one. I swallowed, voice shaking. What happens to me now? He didn't smile this time. He just nodded downward, into endless black below us. You go back. How? Where? He looked genuinely confused by the question. There is no where. You wake up in your lair. You'll think it was a dream. You'll live for a while. But eventually, someone else will sky jump. Someone else will descend. They'll see you. They'll see your lair. And they'll replace you. Replace. The word hit like ice behind my spine. I tried grabbing him. Touch proved he was solid, warm, human, or something built to pass flawlessly as human. He placed a hand on my shoulder, gently, almost like someone comforting a friend. His voice softened to a whisper so close, I felt his breath. Don't skydive again. Before I could answer, everything fell away. The platform, the darkness, the lights, him, nothing. I woke up in my capsule hotel bed in Harajuku. No helmet, no parachute, no suit, just my own clothes, folded neatly. Phone on the charger, wallet where I left it. Everything exactly normal, except my GoPro was on the pillow beside my head, with footage I'd never shot. Footage of another me walking through a burned Tokyo, staring directly into the lens. I flew home the next morning. I wish that was the end. 2 days ago, YouTube recommended a random POV skydiving video. Normal thumbnail, clickbait title, except the uploader's name was my name, not my channel, my legal name. I clicked. It was the footage of me jumping into the clouds, except the timestamp says next month. Comments are turned off, but there's one pinned comment with a timestamp. You won't remember this part yet. Last night I woke up at 5:44 a.m. to the sound of wind rushing past my ears, as if I was falling. There was a notification on my phone. Upload successful. And this morning, someone new followed me on Instagram. Their profile picture is me. Same face, same haircut, same scar under the chin. Bio says 2 words. Your turn. Epilogue. If you ever see an offer online to skydive into Tokyo for money, no matter how legit it looks, no matter how bored you are, no matter how real the crypto transfer is, do not go. There isn't one Tokyo. There are layers, and some versions of you are already living underneath, waiting for you to fall through. I hired a dark web hitman to protect me, not kill anyone. Last night he sent me a photo of myself, sleeping with the caption, "This was the first test." Alright, what's up Reddit? I never thought I'd be the guy to post on r/nosleep, but things have gotten way out of hand, and I need someone, anyone, to tell me I'm not going crazy, because this started as something stupid. A joke, a desperate half-drunk impulse, click, and now I think I'm being hunted by the very person I thought would save me. So yeah, it all started about 3 weeks ago. I was at home alone in my apartment in Chicago. Small place, south side, nothing fancy, leaky faucet, peeling paint, neighbors I don't even know. I work remotely for a freelance UX firm. And when I'm not working, I spend too much time online. Honestly, Discord, Reddit, Twitter, TikTok rabbit holes at 3 a.m., YouTube horror channels like Mr. Nightmare, here's my story, that kind of stuff. It was one of those nights, rain tapping the windows, coffee gone cold, me buried in a hoodie and watching weird animated horror stories. You know the vibe. Everything feels a little too quiet, like the silence is watching you. And I found myself on this weird-ass subreddit talking about the deep web. Not the usual surface-level scare stuff, but links to real Onion pages, walkthroughs, like people had actually done this before. Curiosity got the better of me. I booted up Tor, slapped on a VPN, thank God, and just started exploring. It's like being dropped into a digital wasteland. Most of it was boring or broken. Marketplace clones, shady pharmacy sites, crypto scams, and forums that looked like they hadn't been updated since 2008. But then I stumbled across a thread titled Counter Guard. It looked simple. All black, no logo, just white courier font. You are being watched. We can make it stop. Protection comes at a price. There was a link. I know. I should have clicked out and gone to bed, but I didn't. I clicked it. The site was eerily professional. Sleek black background, grey text boxes, and a sort of contract form. No menus, just one blinking cursor and a drop-down titled Service Type. The options were eliminate a threat track and report 24/7 personal surveillance protection package, custom. I picked protection package, half joking. In the field labeled describe your situation, I wrote, I think someone's following me. I live alone. I'm not safe. I need someone watching my back. Just don't kill anyone. Again, this was like 2:41 a.m. I wasn't taking this seriously. It felt like an ARG or a prank site. Then it asked me to upload a photo of myself for ID purposes. I used a blurry selfie from my Instagram where I was holding a Starbucks drink in front of the Bean downtown. I figured it would help convince whoever was behind this that I was just a dumb troll. I mean, come on, what kind of assassin company has a drop-down menu? The confirmation message was chilling in hindsight. Thank you. You are under observation. Payment will not be required until contract completion. This is your first test. At that point, I assumed it was just an edgy site with a weird sense of humor. I logged off and went to bed, laughing to myself about how some 14-year-old Russian coder probably saw my selfie and thought I was a clown. Then the next night happened. It was around 1:30 a.m. I was watching TikToks in bed, random stupid stuff. Then my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. No message, just an image attachment. I opened it without thinking and froze. It was a photo of me, sleeping, in that exact moment. Same blanket, same position, same dim glow from the screen on my nightstand. Captioned, this was the first test. My hands went ice cold. I remember staring at the screen, trying to rationalize it. Maybe it was an old picture. Maybe someone had hacked my front cam. But I keep my phone facing down when I sleep. And the angle wasn't from the phone. It was from the corner of the ceiling. I ran into every room, checked the windows, looked for holes or hidden cams. I even climbed onto the kitchen counter to check the smoke detector. Nothing. I barely slept that night. Next morning, I got a DM on my alt Twitter, one I don't ever use publicly, the kind I just made to lurk. The message read, don't change your habits. Stay normal. You're safer that way. The account had no name, no icon. Joined December. 0 followers. I wanted to believe it was someone screwing with me, but the details, they knew too much. They referenced things I never posted. My morning walk to the McDonald's 3 blocks away. The red hoodie I wore on Tuesday. Even that weird part of my hallway where the floorboards creak loud as hell, even if you step soft. That day, I turned off every device in my apartment. I stayed at a friend's for 2 days. I didn't tell them what was going on, just said I had a break-in scare. I couldn't bring myself to explain. I mean, who the hell would believe me? When I got back, everything seemed untouched, except the photo frame on my desk. It was off, crooked, barely noticeable, and behind it, tucked in the wall corner, was a small metal disc. It looked like a button battery, with a faint red LED blinking every 10 seconds. I'm not tech savvy, but even I knew it was some kind of camera. I flushed it. Later that night, I got another message. No text, just a live link. It was a stream, and it was me, sitting at my desk, watching that stream. There was a delay of maybe 5 seconds, but it was me, watching myself, looping. That was when I realized I was already being tested, and I failed. I haven't left my apartment since then. I barely eat. I covered the vents and turned off the breaker. My phone is off. I'm writing this on a burner laptop, stealing Wi-Fi from the Starbucks across the street. And just now, I got a new message. It's a screenshot of this post, right here, from my point of view. And the caption, "Don't tell stories you can't finish." I didn't sleep after that post. I closed my laptop and just sat there, in the dark, frozen, like if I didn't move, he wouldn't either. The only sound was the refrigerator humming, and even that started sounding like someone whispering through the vents. Every shadow in the room felt heavier, thicker, like something was hiding in it, deciding whether to step out or just watch. I'm shaking writing this, and I swear I'm trying to keep this as real as it happened, because nothing about what I'm about to say feels possible. But every second after that message felt like being locked underwater, waiting for someone to decide whether to let me breathe. I thought maybe he just hacked the camera on the laptop, so I reached for it, slow, barely moving, like maybe sudden movement would trigger him. But when I closed the lid, the reflection in the screen showed something behind me that wasn't there a second earlier. Something standing in the hallway. Just a shape. A tall, narrow shape, like someone wearing a coat, but completely still. Too still. Like a cardboard cutout of a person someone forgot to color in. I blinked hard, looked over my shoulder. Nothing there. But when I looked back at the reflection, it had leaned forward, like its head was tilting at me. I unplugged the laptop and ran into the bathroom, locked the door, and sat on the tile, with my knees pulled to my chest, like a little kid hiding from monsters. I kept telling myself, I imagined it. Trick of the screen, right? It had to be. Except, something tapped on the door. 3 times. Slow, like knuckles dragging, not knocking. The sound wasn't threatening. It was curious, like someone trying to figure out how thick the wood was between us. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't process how anyone got inside until I heard something else, something I'll never forget hearing in my life. A slow inhale through the bathroom vent, someone sniffing the inside air, someone breathing me in. I covered the vent with my hand, then realized how stupid that was, because if there was really someone on the other side, they could just reach through. But they didn't. They just stayed there, breathing slowly, like they wanted me to hear how patient they were. After maybe an hour, the breathing stopped. Or maybe it didn't. I couldn't tell anymore. At some point, I must have passed out. When I finally opened the door, the apartment looked the same. But when I walked back into my bedroom, the closet door, one I always keep shut, was open 2 inches. I don't care if I sound paranoid. That door doesn't open by itself. It creaks when you touch it. Inside the closet, hanging from the coat rack, was the exact same hoodie I was wearing, only dripping wet, like someone had dunked it in a sink and left it there to drip all night. The smell was weird, like stale water from the bottom of a train station bathroom sink mixed with iron. There was a note pinned to the sleeve, written in black marker, "You sleep deeply. Good." That was when I realized it wasn't just surveillance. He was testing how close he could get to me without waking me up. Not through cameras, not online, physically, in my apartment. It wasn't a hacker. It wasn't a prank. Someone was actually coming inside. When daylight came, I went to my building manager. He told me my front door lock looked tampered, but nothing was stolen, and he couldn't take action unless there was property damage. I tried explaining someone got inside, but as soon as I mentioned dark web anything, he looked at me the way nurses look at psych patients during intake, like they're already writing your diagnosis in their head. So I didn't mention it again. But that night, something changed. Around 2:17 a.m., I got a text from an unknown number. This time, it wasn't a picture. It was a link. The same link from before. Only this time, when I clicked it, it didn't go to the Hitman site. It opened a live feed of what looked like a completely different apartment. Empty, blinds closed, TV reflection on the window. I assumed it was someone else's place until I noticed one thing. On the kitchen table, under the light, was a Starbucks cup, a grande vanilla latte, exactly how I ordered it. Then someone stepped into frame, just an arm, pale and long, setting down something on the table. They moved slow, careful, like they wanted the camera to catch every movement. When they pulled their hand away, I saw what they placed on the table. A red hoodie, not mine, but identical. Same size, same brand, still wet, still dripping. Then the camera panned upward, and I swear I felt every nerve in my body twist, because the person holding the camera wasn't looking at the hoodie. They were looking straight into the lens. No face, just a black mask with no holes at all. Smooth, featureless, like a mannequin head dipped in paint, tilting side to side like they were studying me through the screen. Then they lifted one finger, pressed it against where their lips should have been, and whispered, low enough I had to turn volume up. "Don't wake up." That stream went black. I didn't sleep, not even for a second. But at 4:28 a.m., my phone buzzed again. One message. "You didn't wake up." I dropped the phone and ran to the front door, deadbolted it, shoved a chair under the handle, and sat against the wall with a kitchen knife, like some terrified hostage waiting for a ransom call. Hours passed. Sun came up. Nothing happened. When I finally gathered myself enough to check my phone again, something made my whole body go cold. My wallpaper was changed. Not a picture I took. Not something saved to my gallery. It was a photo of me sleeping again, but this time the angle was directly above my pillow, like someone was kneeling over me, watching my eyes twitch behind my eyelids. Except I didn't sleep last night. I didn't close my eyes once, which means that photo wasn't from last night. It was from some other night, meaning he'd already been getting closer than I ever realized. Not just inside the apartment, not just watching me, but standing right over me long before I ever noticed something was wrong. And the caption written across the image, in the same thin white text the dark website used, said, "I like when your eyes move under your skin. I don't care if you believe me. I don't care if anyone ever believes me. I'm telling this because I don't know if I'm making it to part 3. And before whatever this thing is finally decides the test is over, I need someone out there to know. I didn't hire him to kill anyone, but I'm starting to think the protection package wasn't meant to protect me from other people. It was meant to protect him from being discovered. I'm writing this with the lights off, not because I want to, but because turning them on feels like an invitation, Like brightness would make things easier for him to see me, not harder. The darkness feels thicker now, almost warm against my face, like something is breathing with me. Last time I posted, I thought the worst part was discovering those photos of me asleep. I was wrong. That was just proof. What came after was something else, something that didn't feel human at all. The day after part 2, I tried to leave my apartment, not run, just leave. Just step into daylight and pretend I still lived in a world that made sense. But the moment I put my hand on the doorknob, my phone buzzed from inside my pocket. No caller ID, voicemail, 12 seconds long, just breathing, not deep or angry, slow, deliberate, like whoever recorded it was standing inches from the microphone, letting the air brush against it. Then a whisper, low enough my brain tried to convince me I imagined it. Too late. I didn't even open the door. Something about the way he said it made my stomach drop. Like leaving wasn't just dangerous, it was exactly what he wanted. Like the moment I stepped into the hallway, I wasn't leaving, I was being let out. I backed away slowly, like the door handle might burn me. I shoved a chair under the knob again, even though that did nothing last time. That night, 3:11 a.m., I woke up to something making a tiny, crisp, tearing sound. Not loud, more like paper being slowly peeled apart. At first I thought it was coming from my kitchen, but then I realized it was closer, too close, inside the walls, right behind my headboard. I pressed my ear against the drywall, like an idiot, listening. Something was scraping inside, slow little bursts, like fingernails, dragging along wood. Not frantic, steady, trying to widen something, or carve. I knocked, barely tapping. The noise stopped instantly. The silence that followed felt heavier than the sound, like whatever was there was now just listening back. I backed up and leaned against the opposite wall, my chest tight, watching the drywall like something might press through it, like fingers, or worse. After a few minutes, I began hearing whispers, not words, just the shape of someone trying them out, like they were standing just inches away from me on the other side, mouthing sounds without breath. I recorded the noise with my phone, and when I replayed it, there were words, not loud enough to identify, but clear enough that I could tell they were words, just not ones meant for human mouths. The more I listened, the more my skin tightened, because the voice wasn't close. It sounded like it was inside the microphone. The worst part, when the recording ended, another recording started immediately. One I didn't save. My phone had a file that wasn't there before. Just a single word as the title. Listen. I opened it, expecting more wall noise. It wasn't that. It was me, my own voice, talking in my sleep, saying something I don't even remember dreaming. Please don't take my face. I stopped the audio immediately, my hand shaking so badly I dropped the phone. I stared at it lying screen down on my carpet, as if it might start speaking again on its own. And then, no vibration, no ringtone. The speaker quietly clicked on. Someone whispered through the phone, like they were sitting right beside it. Not yet. I didn't touch that phone again for hours. When sunlight finally came through my blinds, I gathered every piece of clothes I had, pushed my dresser against the wall where the scraping came from, and sat in my bathroom with the faucet running just to drown out any sound. That's when I noticed something I'm terrified to even write. There were fingerprints on the inside of my bathroom mirror, not on the glass, behind it, like someone touched the other side. 5 long smudged streaks sliding downward, as if someone pressed their hand against it and slowly dragged their fingers down in one patient motion. And right at the bottom, written backwards, as if meant to be read in the reflection, 5 words: I can hear you breathe. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My throat just locked up. I wiped the mirror, checked behind it. Nothing. Just plaster and dust. Hours passed. I sat on the tile until my legs went numb, and then my laptop, dead, closed, pinged. One notification. No apps open. No browser running. Just a single message across a black screen. Thank you for staying still. I slammed the lid shut and pushed it away with my foot like it might bite me. This isn't hacking. It isn't some messed up prank. Something is getting in, past the walls, past the locks, past everything I thought made a home safe. I don't know if he comes through the house or if the house itself is part of him now. But the scariest thing, while I'm writing this, I keep hearing breathing again. But this time, it isn't through the vent, or the walls, or my phone. It's against my neck, like someone leaning close enough that the air from their mouth brushes my skin, testing how I'll react. And I haven't turned around because I know, absolutely know, that whatever is behind me isn't a person. People don't breathe like they're tasting you. I don't know if writing this makes things worse, but silence feels like permission now, and I can't give him that. There's something you should know before I tell you what happened tonight. None of this feels like a hitman anymore, not like a person following instructions. It feels like I signed a contract with something that waits where cameras can't see and only pretends to be human when it wants to. After part 3, I thought the breathing behind me was my brain misfiring from not sleeping. Stress hallucinations. I kept telling myself, if I turned around, I'd just see the empty apartment, like always. So I didn't look. I just stood there in the dark until my legs gave out, and I ended up sitting on the floor beside my bed like a kid hiding after a nightmare. Hours passed like that. Nothing touched me. Nothing spoke. But something changed. My apartment wasn't quiet anymore. It sounded filled, like the air had weight, like every room was occupied by something that didn't need light or sound to exist. I tried calling 911 using the burner phone, but something answered after one ring. Only it wasn't dispatch. It wasn't even a phone voice. It was a whisper, so faint I almost missed its words. We are already here. The line stayed open. I didn't breathe. Then another whisper, but different, like 2 voices layered, speaking the same sentence without matching pace. Don't make them come in all at once. I hung up. Around 5 a.m., just when the sky was turning that pale early morning color, my doorbell rang. Soft. One single chime. The kind of polite ring you get from neighbors borrowing paper towels, not whatever I'm dealing with. I froze, listening. Another ring. Then a third, but this time longer. Not like a finger pressing the button, but like something leaning on it. I crept toward the door, every step feeling like I was walking deeper underwater. My peephole is one of those wide-angle ones, covers the whole landing outside, and when I looked, no one. Hallway completely empty, but something was blocking the bottom of the door. A shadow. Still. Long. Wider than any person standing normally. No knock. No voice. Just that shadow, like something on the other side was waiting for me to put my hand near the handle. I backed up slowly, and right when I reached the living room, my TV flickered on. No remote in my hand. Just static for a second, and then a grainy live feed of my own hallway camera. The building's, not mine. But the hallway wasn't empty anymore. There were 3 people standing outside my door, all facing toward it, not moving. I don't even know if they were breathing. Just statues in the hallway, heads tilted slightly down like they were waiting for something. Then the camera zoomed, not automatically. Someone controlled it. It zoomed all the way to one of their hands. It was holding something, long, thin metal, sharp enough to drag against a lock. The TV speakers crackled, then a voice, same whisper that keeps finding me, but this time, close, like it was standing in the room. Don't let them in, they never do it cleanly. The TV switched off. Not even a second later, soft tapping on the door again, but not knocking. Something dragging over the wood in long lines, over and over like they were tracing it. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Stay absolutely still. I thought maybe I should hide, but somehow standing still felt like the only thing that made sense. Like any movement would tell them where I was in the apartment. The dragging suddenly stopped, and something slid across the door, right across the peephole, from inside the hallway, like a palm pressed flat. Then all 3 shadows vanished from underneath the door. Silence. 10 minutes passed, maybe 20, maybe more. I lost track. When I finally got the nerve to check the peephole again, the hallway was empty again, except for something sitting directly outside my door. A box, black, about the size of a shoebox, unmarked. Inside that box was a single piece of paper, folded perfectly, no handwriting, just printed text. They were testing your door. We don't open it yet, not until you're ready. Underneath the note was something else, my building key, the spare one I keep hidden inside my closet, behind a shoebox, which means they weren't knocking to get in. They were knocking because they already were, and whatever I hired, whoever, whatever is protecting me, doesn't stop them from entering. It only stops them from finishing. Not yet. And now, every time I blink too long, I swear I hear footsteps inside my walls, pacing like they're waiting for the moment whoever controls this decides I'm ready. But ready for what? Because tonight, right before I started typing this, a message appeared on my laptop screen without me touching a single thing, in plain white text on a dead black background. Part 5 is the last part. No typing indicator, no sender information, just those words, which means someone or something already knows what happens next. And the part that scares me the most is the feeling I'm not supposed to survive writing it. I've been rewriting this for hours because every time I try to finish, I keep hearing something shift inside the apartment, like the building itself is leaning closer to read over my shoulder. But there's no point dragging this out, and honestly, I don't think I'll get another quiet window like this. What's happening now is different than before. It's quieter, heavier, like everything has already been decided. I didn't sleep last night, but sometime before sunrise, the apartment got colder, sharp cold, like when you open a freezer and the air hits your face. Except nothing was open, not the windows, not the vents. The cold wasn't coming from anywhere. It was already here. And around 4:12 a.m., something began knocking from the inside wall next to my bed. Steady, rhythmic taps. Not impatient, not playful. Testing. I held still, barely breathing, and the knocking slowed down like it was matching my breaths, taking its time. Then something whispered, right against the paint, like lips pressed to drywall. Stand up. I didn't. It whispered again, louder. Stand. Up. My legs moved before I even realized I'd done it. I stood in the dark room, hands shaking, knees weak, like I wasn't in charge of my own body. The whisper went silent, and for a moment, the entire apartment felt like it was holding its breath with me. Then my laptop, a different one than the one he hacked earlier, lit up on its own. No humming startup sound, no fan, just screen, instantly awake. There was a single file on the desktop, one that wasn't there yesterday. A text doc titled, "Open the door, inside," just one line. He's waiting. Before I even processed that, someone started turning the doorknob from outside. Slow rotation, 2 inches, like whoever it was had all the time in the world. The lock held, but that wasn't the point. The point was that they weren't pretending anymore. Then a text buzzed through the burner phone. "Don't touch it yet. Not don't open it. Don't touch it." I stepped backward, and the doorknob stopped. Not a sound after. Silence became a weight in the room. Every second stretched. I felt watched, not from one place, but from every direction, like the air itself had eyes. Then the lights flicked on. My overhead bulbs, the kitchen, the bathroom, everything, bright enough to burn white spots into my eyes. I shielded my face, and in that half second of blindness, I heard footsteps, fast, heavy, running the length of the hallway outside, past apartment after apartment, like something sprinting on all fours. It hit the end of the hallway so hard, the exit door rattled in its frame. Then nothing. Not quiet. Nothing. Like the building emptied out. I turned the lights off again and stood there in the dark, thinking, there's no way this is still him. No hacker does this. No person moves like that. Whatever I hired isn't alone, and it never was. Hours passed. The apartment slowly warmed again. I started thinking maybe it was over for the night, but then I heard the hallway. Not footsteps. Whispering. So many voices at once. I couldn't separate them. Low, steady streaming of sound, like a crowd reciting something under their breath. The voices moved from door to door down the hallway, pausing in front of each apartment, whispering into the cracks beneath. When they reached mine, all the whispers merged into one long breath that seeped through the bottom of the door like wind. "Open." I backed away. A message appeared on my phone again. "Do not open the door." So I didn't. The whispering suddenly cut off, like someone sliced the sound out of the air. And then, for the first time since this started, I heard a voice that wasn't whispering, not distorted, not something trying to imitate speech. A man's voice, calm, clear, standing directly behind my front door. "We only protect you until you choose." Choose what? He didn't knock, didn't rattle the knob. He just kept talking like he was explaining something trivial. "You asked for protection. Protection requires access." Then the word I'll never scrub out of my head, even if I live another 1,000 years. Permission. Cold spread through me because I finally understood. None of them ever broke in. Not once. The lock wasn't keeping them out. I was. And that box they left, the key inside wasn't a threat. It was a reminder. They didn't need it unless I let them use it. The voice outside the door inhaled, like smelling through the wood, and said quietly, "Open the door, and we become your protection permanently." I didn't move. Then he tried something different, something worse. He said my name. Not just my name, my middle name. The one nobody knows. The one that isn't online. The one I hate hearing. I don't remember dropping to the floor, but suddenly I was curled up next to the table, shaking uncontrollably, and the door handle turned all the way this time, slow, deliberate, then snapped back like someone let go of it suddenly. No footsteps leaving, no whispers, just absence. Eventually, the hallway felt empty again. I pulled myself up and checked the peephole. Nothing. Silent. But something else was there, wedged under the doorframe. An envelope, unmarked, just like the box. Inside, a single printed line. Last test passed. Underneath the paper was a small object, about the size of a thumb drive, smooth black plastic, no markings. When I plugged it into the burner laptop, a message appeared instantly. We have finished protecting you. Stay inside, keep lights off, do not open the door for anyone. Then another line typed itself, one keystroke at a time. If you open the door from now on, it won't be us. That should have calmed me, but it didn't. Because if they're finished, then who's outside now? And why can I hear someone breathing again? Except this time, it's not coming from the vent, or the wall, or behind me. It's coming from the hallway, slow and steady, right on the other side of the front door, like something huge pressing its face against the gap at the floor, sniffing at the air inside my apartment. And the worst part? The whisper that slips through the crack this time isn't asking for permission. It's promising something. Your protector can't hear you anymore. I haven't moved since. The lights are off. The building feels wrong, like everyone else left hours ago without making a sound. The breathing outside my door hasn't stopped once, not even to inhale. If this post goes up, just don't come here. Don't look for me. Don't call the building. I'm not opening this door again, no matter who knocks, or what voice I hear, or what they start saying. There's something outside I didn't hire, and I think it's waiting for me to make the first move.